What's up, sir?
Howdy. It's a good day. Yeah, of course, just as soon as I start something important, the cat decides he has to be in the desk. No,
Yeah, it's gonna jump right in and get at it. That's so funny, man.
he sits in the window behind the monitor, so he'll crawl down and he'll crawl across the screen again before we're done.
You know what? We've had stranger things come across the screen than a cat, so we're good, man. It is all good. Man, thank you for joining us on this call, on this podcast that goes out to a big six-figure audience too, which is really cool. But that doesn't get me half as excited as the fact that I just love each and every one of these young men, and to get to bring good men on every week is a pleasure, man. And you're definitely a good man. So thank you for joining.
Thank you. You're too kind. It's a privilege to be here.
That's awesome. And you and I just quite literally, so guys, we literally just chatted. We were just on a different thread and we were talking about some things that Mr. Butler has going on here. And so we're going to talk about all of those things here too. And of course, give you guys a chance to talk. So I want to just make sure that he has context, but I want to make sure my audience has some context. I want you guys to have context, but I want the listeners of the podcast to have context too. So just for your context, Mike, is, we've got these young guys from quite literally all over the world. Mm-hmm. Tim and I have the distinct pleasure of being able to mentor them. Like I said, they've got projects, challenges of their own, and then every week they get to talk to amazing human beings. And they're putting together these digital portfolios that are opening up quite literally, if they want jobs, if they want college, whatever that looks like these are the things that we are putting together to help them get there. But as long as they put in work over the course of a year, they are invited to stay in this brotherhood of young men in perpetuity, no charge.
Good.
Yeah, we just want to pour into them, man. So you got a bunch of hardworking young guys. And then, gentlemen and the audience, to give you some context, I go down to Mexico in December of 2021.
2021, I think it was. Yeah.
It was, man. So yeah, it was December of 2021. Oh yeah, there's my co-host. I'm gonna make co-host right there. Boom, G's my co-host. Bam. We go down there to Cancun, to Mexico, and so a whole bunch of guys that many of you guys on here have met. And if you haven't met, you'll meet them, thus far. But we're down there with a bunch of mutual friends. So Ryan Mickler is down there, and Beaudreau Schooling was down there, and Ray Kerr was down there. John Lovell was down there.
Jack Donovan, Tanner Guzzi.
Yep, Tanner Guzzi, Stephen Mansfield.
Steve Mansfield, yeah.
Yeah. Kip Sorensen. I mean, it was just a whole bunch of really good humans, right? So we get down there and we're going to be working together for a week to put some things together. And we meet up the first morning. If you guys meet up in the gym for a workout, and Ray Kerr, and many of you guys got to meet, Ray Cash Kerr, and Ray's like, hey, take a look at the buff holy man over here. I said, what do you mean? He says, this guy right here. Look at this dude. Look at this jack dude right here. And so I look over. This is my first introduction to Mr. Butler. And I said, buff holy man. He goes, yeah, he's a holy man. He's like, he works in the church. And I was like, oh, okay. And I look over and I've got this just like jacked dude that you're seeing in front of you, who's over here doing pull-ups and his wings are coming out here in the back, right? And it's like, dude, but you were out there just beast. And I'm like, this is my introduction to who this man is. And obviously we got to know each other more from there, but it was a great way to introduce you, man.
That's a sweet story. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah. That's it.
I like that. Yeah, I'm a little exotic in that respect. Yeah, you don't often find Orthodox priests, which is actually what I am. Yeah, I'm a priest. Who hang out in the gym as much as I do. So yeah, the temple of God on weekends and the temple of iron on weekdays is kind of where I spend my time.
Is kind of the way you roll. That's right.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Find a whole lot of men in the Orthodox Church who are also competing on stage as bodybuilders as well.
I'm probably one of the few. Yeah,
probably one of the few. You're dang right you are. So I wanted to give all of that context there so that we could start learning a little more about you. And what I love to do with our guests when we have the young men on is I like to go, okay, so right now you're obviously this, man who is very driven, who's got a lot of purpose. You are putting together some amazing things, which we are going to talk about. You're doing amazing things, which we're going to talk about. But at one point you were 12, you were 13, you were 14.
Yeah.
Were you the Holy man on the weekend and the Church of Iron during the week? Were you
Oh,
just
hell no.
driven and killing it? Were you crushing it? Did you have no idea what was going on? Were you somewhere in between? Tell us about that young man first.
Okay. Yeah, sort of the defining moment of my life or my youth was the fact that, well, first off, I grew up in East Texas, so I'm not quite a country boy, but very small town in East Texas where I was related to half of the town. And my daddy worked for Dow Chemical and got into poison one day. There was a leak at the plant where he was working, and he got into poison, and 4 days later died. So I was 8 years old when I lost my dad. Depression after that. I don't remember about a year and a half of my life, from about 8 to about 9.5 is just gone. I have no recollection of what happened. Got depressed, took to eating a lot, found comfort and solace in food. I was the fat kid. Okay, ultimately, I was the fat kid, the kid who was picked last at PE for every kind of team sport, uncoordinated, almost failed PE in second grade because I couldn't jump a rope. It was that bad. So by the time I was 12, 13, 14 years old, just awkward. I took comfort in books.
Yeah.
I took comfort in, my mother had been a Catholic and a devout Catholic, and we used to go to Mass every Sunday. And I continued to find comfort in going to church. Mama got mad at God and quit going to church completely when Dad died. And so I would go largely on my own. And I found some comfort in that. And I had a sister at the time, a year younger than me. About the time I was 13, she was 12, and she found pot. One of her cousins introduced her to pot, and that began a lifelong drug addiction for her. She started with pot. By the time she was 16, she was doing heroin and suicidal, and ended up, my sister died by violence at 23. I thought for years that she had committed suicide. I think in more recent years, I've come to appreciate she was probably murdered by the Mexican drug gang she was running drugs for. But I lived with a drug addict through my teen years, and the fights, the lies, and all of that was really kind of, that was rather traumatic for me. But, I was the kid who didn't really do much, except I liked school. So being physically fat and uncoordinated and all of that, I did what I could and did well. I played to my strengths, which is, good advice. So I did well academically. So I buried myself in books and read a lot. And, the other kids would taunt me that I was a walking encyclopedia, or I was just a brain in a box or something like that. And I don't think I was, but it was the only thing I had that I could do well. And the only place that I found real comfort and success. So I played to my success. I'm really not that bright of a guy. I don't think I am. I just learned how to study early on. And I had good teachers in high school and in college who taught me how to study, who taught me how to take notes, who taught me how to write, how to speak well. And I worked really hard at it. So pretty much everything that I have today, it was not gift. There's no privilege in my life, a little blue collar, lost a blue collar dad when I was 8 years old and lived in this dumpy little town, that was downwind from a chemical factory is not a very elegant or privileged way to grow up. But I learned eventually how to work my way out of it. And anything that I have today is from blood, sweat, and tears.
No doubt about it. Holy cow. So I did not know that about your father and about the background. And I know that's long ago, but still truly sorry to hear that, and about your sister.
No, well, it changed, it changes you for life. It really does.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can't help it. One of, we were talking about leaning into your strengths and knowing how, knowing that that's where you needed to go. For you, was that more of was somebody laying that roadmap out for you? Or was that more of it sounds like it was more of a survival mechanism at that point?
Yeah, I think it was. There wasn't a whole lot of support for stuff. Oh, mom was always glad, and my stepdad. Mama remarried about a year and a half after dad died, but they were always, good enough about me getting good grades in school, and they were appreciative that I did that. But it was sort of like expected.
Sure.
Of course you would do that,
Sure.
and the question was, oh, there's a B. Why is there a B on your report card?
Yeah.
And, it was never a good job, well done, I'm proud of you. That's excellent. I didn't get very much of that at all when I was growing up. And even I had interests. I liked music. I took piano lessons, so I played piano, but my mother didn't like it that I liked classical music,
Yeah.
that. So she derided the kind of music. I thought I'd like to take up violin at one point, but I wouldn't have been allowed to play violin. I would have been required to play fiddle, I didn't want to play country western fiddle. I wanted to play classical violin, and there was no love for that in my family. So, a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do, I did without anybody else's support. And even when I got serious in the gym when I was 53, I mean, my wife sort of tolerates me, and I get some support, but there's no huge enthusiasm even about that.
Yeah.
So largely the things that I've done, I had to, I found other friends in other contexts. Got gym bros that I hang with, who support me in my workouts, my diet, and my contest prep and all. But like immediate family and all, it's not a whole lot there. So you kind of learn to do it on your own, and you realize that you really do have strength to do it. You really do. There's more to us than we think there is, and we have more strength than we think we have, and we have more grit than we think we have. We just need something to call it out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I like the way, so you're kind of laying out this, you're saying you need something to call it out. And even in the story you're laying out, I'm seeing two paths that are playing out. There's one that's the desire. You're talking about your intelligence level and saying you don't think you're that intelligent, but you learned how to study and you had the desire to do it. And I would argue, from my experience in education, I think most people are actually rather intelligent. I actually believe most people are relatively intelligent. It's a desire thing that we lack more than a capability thing. Right. And so you had this desire. So there's an element of desire to go after it. Maybe some of it is a little bit of a survival mechanism. But then you also said there's a little bit of this expectation path that's going on too. Why did you get a B? Right. There's this expectation of like, no, we expect Michael to make sure he's getting A's. Right.
Yeah.
As you're moving forward and you do well in school, and I want to hear about like what was next. You get done, and like, do you leave the house? Do you go to college? Do you go like, what was that path? And do you think your path is driven more by personal desire or an expectation that may have come from somewhere else, or have those things merged at some point?
I don't know that there were, when I went to college, I did okay. I was kind of depressed as a kid. In fact, I found out years later, I had sort of stomach issues. I remember having indigestion and all when I was even a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, and all. Come to find out, that's probably inherited from my dad, who always had stomach problems too. But it was probably I somatized, or I physicalized my depression and my anxiety there. And I was on medication. I thought it was for my stomach. It wasn't. It was actually an early antidepressant. So I was prescribed medication for depression when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
Okay. Which, as I say, I didn't know, and I probably wouldn't have even been old enough to have made an informed decision about that. So I guess that's by the way. But by the time I got to high school, I sort of came out of my shell a little bit and began to socialize a little more, learn how to open up, was not so much of an introverted personality, and you just began to make much more friends. I got into band. I got into band in junior high. And, in high school, that was my real group of friends, because if you don't know, the band bus is the coolest bus in high school. And that's where, you think the party animals are somewhere. If you haven't been on the band bus, you don't know what it is.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I was there in the thick of it in high school. I just totally loved being in high school band, marching, even concert band, all of that kind of stuff, solos, ensembles. I did all of that stuff. Got into choir as well and sang and developed my voice, which has been, that's part of my job now, is being able to sing and chant,
right?
To project my voice. So those were all very good things. I guess one of the second defining moment in my life happened when I was 15. And that was, after my mom had married my stepdad, we moved out of my hometown and we moved down to South Texas, right on the Mexican border, where I lived for a number of years. And while I was there, I fell into a very bad group of friends when I was in middle school or junior high, and I was stealing things from the school. And I got caught. And, my mother, who, as I said, had quit going to church or, because she was mad at God, nevertheless, being a Catholic mother, could lay Catholic guilt like nobody else.
Sure.
It reminded me that stealing is a mortal sin and you can go to hell for that, which actually made an impression on me, even though, I was 15. Yeah. It should not have affected me as much as it did. I should have been, not cared, and been cool about it, but I wasn't that good. And I went to confession for the first time in my life, really. I don't remember the confession itself, except that I was on the verge of tears, and God bless the priest on the other side of that screen. He knew he had a tender soul. Yeah. The other side, and he was very gentle with me and all. That's all I remember from the confession. But I walked out of the church. Now, granted, this was South Texas, so this is like South Florida or Southern California, so it's subtropical. But yep. It was February the 3rd, 1975. It was 4:55 in the afternoon. It was light, and it's like 50, 60 degrees. It was very mild. And I was walking down the sidewalk, and suddenly the whole world changed. The light went golden. I heard the sound that creation sings to its maker. I cannot describe the music that I heard, except grass is soprano and trees are bass. Beyond that, I have no words for what I heard. And I knew in an instant that there was a God, that he loved me, and it was personal, and that he loved me, and it turned me inside out. And we're talking today because of that moment. So I had a real lightning bolt kind of conversion experience or encounter with God. And I've lived my life out of gratitude for that moment. So, when you're a good Catholic boy, you want to go be a priest. And my mother didn't want to hear that, because Catholic priests don't get married. And my mother is a genealogist and traces family tree. And she wants, of course, to have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and all of that. So that was a sore point for a number of years. I went to university. I went to a Catholic university, eventually expecting that I would go to seminary or join a religious order and be a monk. I had a great time at university. I studied for a semester in Rome, but I majored in psychology. And in those days, it was largely based on Carl Jung's archetypal psychology. So I learned a lot about archetypes and symbol and ritual and that sort of stuff, which has served me all of my life. And then I decided I would do clinical psych in graduate school and, become a therapist. And I visited Pittsburgh, discovered the Orthodox Church there, and I converted to Orthodoxy when I was 23 years old. But I went on and got a master's degree in theology and then a PhD in church history, where I specialized in the early Christian centuries and the writings of the early centuries, which has been sort of my specialty ever since. My wife was from Michigan. If you marry a Yankee, you end up living in the North. Let me just tell all you young guys, if you're Southern boys and you marry a Yankee, you're going to end up in the North. And I've been in Michigan or in Ohio now for like 30 solid years. I'd go back to Texas in a heartbeat if I could. But that's just not going to be in the cards. So at any rate, to compress the rest of my story, I ended up not being able to teach political correctness at the university the same year I finished my doctoral degree. Nobody wanted a white man who studied dead white men. Yep. So, the job market literally evaporated in 2 years. I'd been ordained a deacon already. There was a congregation here in Michigan that was without a priest. I was ordained priest for that congregation, and I've been serving as a parish priest for 28 years. I've been married for 38. I have 2 grown sons. My eldest is 32 right now and living near Philadelphia. My youngest son, I'm going to perform his marriage in November. And so he's 30 years old now, and they're both doing very well. And that sort of brings us up to the present. That except when I decided, though, that I was tired of being the fat kid. And I guess that's the only other piece I'll throw in here. I really wanted to get in shape. Yeah, when I was 20, 30, 40, and 50. And I told my wife, I want to regret something else when I'm 60 years old, but it ain't going to be this.
Yeah.
She said, okay. So I hired an online coach for one of those 12-week physical transformation challenges sort of things. And I did. I learned how to eat. I was not eating adequately to support, a better physique. So I learned how to eat. I learned a better exercise program. The muscle went on, the fat came off. And I decided, let me see how far I can carry this. And I worked really well with a deadline. So I found a local contest prep coach. And about 10 months, I lost 40 pounds. I lost 8 inches off my waist. I went from 23 to 8% body fat. And all I said to the coach was, please, I don't want to come in last. And you know what? I was 5th out of 6. I was not last.
Right on.
And it was okay. It was like one of the best wins of my whole life. I wasn't last. I wasn't last. And it was marvelous. And I got the bug for competing. And the last 9 years, I've competed 12 times, 11 times at state level competition, once at nationals. I have been to a national level bodybuilding show and stood on stage and did that. And if I could, I have a visual, may I?
Oh, please.
I know it doesn't show up really well, but here's kind of a before and after. Let me see if I could get myself here to do it. I'm gonna have to hold on. I'm gonna undo the background, blurring background business so you can see this. Okay. That's like me at 196 pounds, there on the one side, and that's me at about 5.5% body fat about 5 years later. And just because I love it, this is the best picture I've ever taken of me.
Yeah, man. Those are just awesome. Men.
I love this. I just really love this. And so, that's it. When you find something you love, man, go for it.
Oh gosh, that's freaking awesome.
So that's it. That's kind of what I do.
Well, and I want to make sure we tell people what you're working on right now as well. And so, gentlemen, I want you guys to go ahead and start. You guys can start putting hands up. I want you guys to be able to ask some questions, whatever you have come to mind. So you guys can start putting your hands up. But I have a couple more that I want to chat about too. And if we have dads on here too, and dads, you guys want to jump in on this one, please feel free. I want you guys to put your hands up on this one too, if you guys would like to. So one of the things that's kind of funny when you're talking about the Southern, it's really funny. Actually, we bought this farm here in North Carolina. We moved like 2 months after we were all together in Mexico. We moved our family, from California out here to North Carolina.
I thought you were still in California.
Yeah, no. So we're on a farm now in North Carolina, and I moved out here. And it was this Southern boy who's like, man, I married this lady and she won't let me stay here. And so they moved to Michigan, which is just so funny that you're laying out that you said what you said. It's so funny, but it's so true. When you jumped into the physical fitness side of this, for you, and then I want to talk about again what you're going to be, what you're doing and what you're building. But I want to emphasis on this. What did that change, if anything, for you? What did that unlock for you? Because you were talking about at the very beginning, you found comfort. You said you found comfort in church. You said you found comfort in books, but you also said, I also found comfort in food, right? So you were having to change the relationship there, right, with food. And so what did that do? Not just the physical change, and like there's obviously some confidence that comes from that, but having to deal with the psychological change of our now new relationship with what food is and what it's for, and actually putting an emphasis on how important it actually is. How did that shift anything for you?
Yeah, that sets up a really good question, it's a really good question and sets up a really nice answer. The long and short of it is, I feed the machine. Yeah. Bodybuilding prep, they joke about chicken breasts and white rice and broccoli. Damn it, I've had it up to here with chicken breasts, white rice, and broccoli. I ate that 2 and 3 times a day for months. Okay. That's the price you pay for greatness. Okay. I was willing to pay the price for it, and I learned to do that. So I learned to uncouple, food from emotion. Yeah. I can still eat because it's pleasant. I can eat because it's a celebration and we want to have a nice meal. But by and large, I've reached it. After 9 years of doing this, food is fuel, and that's it. So that sort of healed my, a lot of, I don't use food for self-medication anymore. But you're right, initially, I found comfort in books. I pushed myself intellectually all the way through a PhD. I mean, I had to learn Latin, Greek, French, German, in order to do my PhD work. As an Orthodox priest, I have to have some dabbling in Slavonic, Greek, and Romanian. I did half of a wedding service in Spanish 3 weeks ago, and languages do not come easily to me.
Yeah.
But I've learned to work hard through this. So I can do intellectual work, and then I push myself spiritually. I wouldn't be a priest if I didn't. So I can push myself spiritually. And I realized later on in life, I'd never really pushed myself physically because I had a poor body self-image. I didn't like the way I looked. I was embarrassed, even into my early 50s to be seen without a shirt because I had the dad bod, and I really, really hated that.
Yeah.
So once I began to lose the weight, and this is a true story. So when I was 53 and I started this body transformation thingy, I'd lost about 20 pounds. And I noticed people started treating me differently. The women in my parish quit giving me so much shit.
Mm-hmm.
And the men in the parish started giving me a little more respect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, understand, again, as an Orthodox priest, I typically wear a cassock, which is, if you don't know, is a floor-length black dress with long sleeves. All you can see is my head and my hands. Mm-hmm. It covers everything. So no one was seeing the fact that I was losing fat. The only thing they saw was that my attitude changed. Mm-hmm. And I was winning at something that was important to me. I was finally succeeding at something I had wanted pretty much my entire life. And I was finally getting it. And that much self-confidence came out in my behavior, the way I carried myself, my self-presentation, and people treated me differently as a result of it. You know what? I loved it. Mm-hmm. If I had known that was the first effect of getting into shape, I might have done this decades ago and saved myself a hell of a lot of grief.
That's right.
Really. I had no idea that would be the first effect. But this is one of the reasons why now, in the men's work that I'm doing, physical fitness is one of the foundations for everything that I do. So like what our friend Bedros Keuilian says, physical fitness is the gateway drug to men's self-improvement. Yep. We can get you in the gym and working out, we can change the rest of your life.
Bingo.
It's as simple as that.
And do you guys, I hope you guys heard the wisdom in there too. It's not just about it came out without any obvious change to physicality for everybody else, right? Like that's all literally being covered up. But what you cannot cover up, gentlemen, is earned self-confidence. You can't cover it up. It
Listen
comes
to it
out. And as that comes out of you, people are attracted to that. We talk about leadership, right? It's Apogee Strong, leaders on purpose. Well, the purpose part is putting yourself in that position where leadership is exuding out of you so that people want to be around you to get more of it. They're going, I don't know what it is that he is bringing out. They don't necessarily have to see it. And in this case, they couldn't see it. They always feel it. Always.
And there is something called the halo effect, which is that people who look physically attractive, people make assumptions about them. They assume that they're wealthier or that they have financial means. They assume that they're interesting. They assume that they're successful. They assume that they're powerful. And they make a whole bunch of assumptions on us based on how we look. And I didn't fully believe that until I experienced it for myself.
Yep.
And ain't denying it. It may be wrong. You may think this is the grossest, most unjust thing in the world, but
it's real.
It seems to be part of reality there. So
exactly right. It is part of reality because people are assuming competence. They're assuming you can do things. They're assuming you can do something that you say you can do. And they're getting evidence. They're pulling part of that as evidence from the fact, well, it takes a lot to actually stay in physical condition. You do have to be disciplined to do it. There has to be a long tail game. So they equate it with being a competent human being. And so then the question becomes, well, is that far off from the truth? Because maybe you have increased your competence. Maybe you have, by increasing your confidence, maybe you have increased your competence. Maybe you have increased your ability to make things happen. Maybe you have unlocked that in yourself. So it's like, maybe they're not wrong, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
because people come to you with an expectation that you are better.
yes.
You say one up, whatever. I don't know what terms you want to use. That you're one up.
Yep.
You're likely going to rise to that too.
Yep.
So it will make you a better man.
It will. Absolutely is. Before we even get into like the work that you're doing now and what you're putting together, I know we got a hand from Mr. Bodie Moore. Mr. Moore, go ahead, sir.
Hello, Mr. Butler.
Howdy.
First of all, before I say my question, I just want to say, wow.
Yeah, I saw your comment. Forgive me?
How old are you again?
I'm 62. I'm old enough to be your grandpa.
62.
Yeah.
You look fantastic, first of all. And my question is about getting to the gym. How do you find the time to get to the gym with also having work to do and people, your family to spend time with, and things like that? How do you find time for that? I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Moore, we always make time for what's important. Honestly, we do. If it's important, we'll make time for it. We will find the time for it. And full disclaimer, and to be perfectly honest, at least competitive bodybuilding is kind of expensive. And I didn't start till I was 53, in part because I was an empty nester and I was through raising my boys who were eating me out of house and home. You know, it costs something to have 4 people in the house, and 2 grown boys just eat through the food like like a plague of locusts. Yeah, so I had a little bit of the time, and being a priest, I mean, apart from set times when I have services that I have to be available, the rest of my week is perfectly free for me to arrange the way I want to. So if I don't want to see anybody before 12 noon, I don't, and that's been my practice for years. So I get up in the morning, I do prayers first thing in the morning, and I wake up at 5 routinely without an alarm. So up, coffee with Jesus first thing in the morning, I do serious creative work, then I answer email, do desk work, and then I go to the gym and I'm home at lunch. And then in the afternoons are given to, if people want to make appointments, want to see me. So I found a schedule that works for me. But again, if you want it, you will make time for it. You'll find the time. So it's a matter of priorities. How bad you want it. And it's not just working out, that's practicing your guitar, that's learning to code, that's learning anything or doing anything. Relationships with women, you'll make time for them, if it's important to you, all of it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
For sure. Thank you.
It's a good word. When you're talking about your schedule right there, is that more a product of, is that Beaudreau? Is that Craig Ballantyne? Is that both? I got both of these guys in there because I'm very much the same way too, as far as prioritizing.
Yeah, I see. I see. Oops. Sorry about that. I'll unblur my screen again. Yes. You see, I have the same box from Craig.
Oh yeah, you do.
That you do. Yes,
yeah, you do. That's Craig right there.
Yeah. That's Craig's stuff. I did it again. I'm sorry. I'm trying to blur my screen.
All right. Like I said, we've had stranger things on the stream. That's funny. That's awesome.
So, yeah, actually, I think I got it from Alan. What's his first name? Getting Things Done. David Allen.
David Allen. Got it.
Yep. GTD. Yeah, I think that's where I got it for morning routine and all. And again, I'm just weird this way. I just wake up about 4:30 or 5 every day. Yeah. And here the last couple or 3 months, it's been 4 a.m. I don't want to get up at 4. I don't really want to get up at 5, but there I am. Hard. So I just adjust and turn it to profit.
But the secret is what you were talking about just now. You will make time where you want to make time. And that's, we were talking earlier in the men's group earlier this week about raising your threshold, right? I was talking about the fact that my wife is, she battles with these migraines, about the only health thing that she's ever battled, but we figured out a lot of things that have decreased it. But part of what she's working on is raising her threshold to where the migraine doesn't necessarily even hit. And there's different physiological things she's doing. But isn't that how everything works for us too, right? So we go to, it was almost comical for me prior to me changing my own thinking, when I'd have a young man who's like 14, 15 and go, gosh, man, I don't have time. I'm just really, really busy. And I'm like, oh, are you busy? Because I have a wife, I have 3 kids, I have multiple businesses that I'm running, and I'm still making the time to do this, but you're busy for what, right? But the reality is that I needed to change my thinking. At that time, the 14 and 15-year-old, that's where his threshold is. I have learned how to collapse time, how to collaborate, how to get things going, how to prioritize better. So all I've done is raised my threshold.
Yeah,
And
it's a
so,
skill.
right, it's a skill.
Yeah.
So making time is a skill. It's an extraordinarily valuable skill for all of us to implement. That's what you're talking about.
And I sort of, I mean, as recently as 6 weeks ago, I was amazing myself. Because again, I'm a full-time parish priest. So, I mean, I work a lot of hours in the church, plus the contest prep. I was doing twice a day cardio, plus my workout, plus posing practice. So and meal prep, when my wife wasn't doing it, was functionally a part-time job. And I'm also trying to keep up with social media and build this, this online coaching thing and plan a retreat and, put together an online course. So I was basically working functionally about 60 to 80 hours a week. And I did that for weeks. And, I sort of look back and say, how did I get through that? I mean, it's exhausting just thinking about it. But, when you're in it, you don't think about the big picture. You just say, okay, what do I need to do right now? Put on the blinders, hook yourself to the plow and you grind. And you just plow through it and you can.
That's right. Oh, so good.
You can.
Tate, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir, for coming on the call today. You mentioned like diet and stuff, and I'm like working like at the gym and just wanting to like get a good like food like diet, just something that's like more healthy than just like fast food or something. What is your like what do you do, and what would be a recommendation?
What's kind of constitutes clean eating. So you want clean protein. I don't care if it's beef, chicken, turkey, fish, whatever it is, but clean. Like if you have a hamburger, that's fine, but don't ladle it, don't lard it down with cheese and with ketchup and with mayo and with all of that. You don't need those empty calories. Try to eat good meat, and especially if you're working in the gym, your protein, you need more protein than you think you need. All right, let me just say that. So be sure you're eating good sources of protein, eggs. If you need whey to supplement, that might not be a bad thing. And then for the rest of it, you young guys and your bodies are really forgiving. You can have a little bit of junk food and still kind of stay lean. The older you get, that you just can't do that anymore. So, I have to be real strict on my diet because, I look at food and I get fat again. Just be sure that things like, eat your veggies, eat rice, eat pasta, eat that, but get green vegetables, eat a salad now and again. You know what I mean? Almost every place has got a healthy alternative now.
Yeah.
I remember there were rough times where I was on the road somewhere and the only place around was a McDonald's or a Burger King. And they got a salad, and sometimes they'll put chicken strips on a salad for you. And, that's better than, the double burger with cheese and the giant fries and a milkshake. We really don't have to go there. Iced tea has no calories, and a green salad will fill you up. Maybe not for long. It's kind of like Chinese food. You'll be hungry again in an hour, but it'll get you through, for a little while. Yeah, but especially for a lot of guys, the diet piece is the part. We love the workouts. We really do. Pumping iron feels great. Being in the gym is great, but we tend not to eat enough. And that was discovered was my problem. I was not getting nearly enough protein. So if you can, if you're obsessive about it and you want to get one of those fitness apps like MyFitnessPal or something where you can track your meals, make sure you're getting at least like 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. So if you're weighing 175 pounds, you want 175 grams of protein per day. And that's eating a lot more than you think it is. Okay. You might be surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Does that help? Does that answer what you need?
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you.
For sure.
Yeah, and these guys will, one of those months, they will be tracking their intake. One of the things, so,
okay,
what Mr. Butler's talking about right here, you guys, real food, man, real food matters. It does matter. And the protein thing is huge. So I remember this gentleman named Louis Villasenor was recommended to me. Some of the stuff that he was writing was recommended to me by a friend of mine named Rob Wolf. And Rob is a stud in the health and fitness space. And one of the things that Louis said that is right in line with what was just said here is if you want ideal body composition, right? You want a solid muscular frame and not carrying a bunch of extra fat. He said, look at protein as your target, right? So that's first and foremost. And he was saying exactly what Mr. Butler was just saying right there. How much do you weigh? What does that look like? Okay, that's your target, right? Protein is a target. Carbohydrates are your limit. And what he meant by that was carbs are fine, but use it in the amount that you are using. Like, don't go over and above. If you sit and play video games all day, you don't need 300 grams of carbohydrate for your activity. What is your activity level? Fuel your activity level. And then he said, fat is your lever. So he says, protein is your target. You want to hit your target number. Carbohydrates are a limit, meaning just consume what you need to feel good and operate well, but don't go crazy over and above. And then fat is the lever for the rest of the calories that you need to make the weight go up or down. He made it that simple. And I really like that. I think that's really, I think that works. I think it's pretty solid for a general health, wellness, and physical activity. Obviously, you can get very much more nuanced. And if you're going to go step on a stage, you're going to get very much more nuanced.
You'll be obsessive.
You'll be obsessive.
Yes, you'll be crazy for a while.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that's really good advice. So as I want to talk about what you're building out, and then I have a question that's related to what you're building out too. But let's share to everybody what we were talking about earlier and what you're working on right now.
Okay, but excuse me. What I'm working on right now is first I'm looking for retirement.
Yeah.
Which I hope will be in about 3 years' time.
Yeah.
I'd like to get out of full-time parish ministry, and I've been interested in men's work for about 30 years. And by men's work, excuse me, I mean helping men to optimize their lives. And particular interest. About 5 years ago, we started having this huge influx of young men in their late 20s started coming into the church. And I thought this was just happening in my congregation. Come to find out, no. There are thousands of young men coming into the Orthodox Church all over North America, everywhere. Every time I talk to priests somewhere else, oh yeah, I got a dozen of them. I got 24 of them. Our cathedral in Dallas had, last count, had 42 that had shown up like in the last 2 years. They were looking for orthodoxy and all this. So I said, well, what are they? I started seeing just in my own guys that were coming. They were not only just looking for faith, they were looking for Christ, and that. But I realized they needed something else too. They were looking for structure. They were looking for something transcendent, something bigger than themselves to believe in and to latch onto. And I realized a lot of them really needed some help finishing growing up. They had come to a point in their life where they knew they needed to be adults, but they didn't quite know how. So they were stuck at the edge of being like post-adolescent or late adolescent. They hadn't quite fully moved into early adulthood, and they couldn't get over that hump. And I started asking them. I said, so you're telling me 15 years of smoking weed and playing video games and jerking off to porn have not been the preparation for life?
Bingo.
They said, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, it hadn't. And they weren't quite sure how fully to grow up. And so I've been developing a program right now. I'm just calling it mature masculinity, for lack of a better term, to help younger men to grow up, to get over that hump, and to, basically just to help them grow up and give them some of the foundational skills they need to be an adult and to function optimally in the world. So the shorthand version, what I tell guys is say, I help you optimize your life by getting your balls back, your heart back, your mind back, so you can have the life and the relationships that you want.
I love it, man. I freaking love it. One of the stories that I was sharing with you that, is a real story. And I want my audience to hear this. I want these young men to hear this. I was working with an organization, pretty big organization. And I had senior leadership was telling me about this young man they had hired. And by young man, I mean, he was early to mid 20s, 23, 24, somewhere in there. And they had hired him. He's a Harvard guy, super intelligent. This is his first real gig, first real job. And he goes and knocks on the door, boss's door, 6 weeks into his first gig. And boss can tell, something's going on. And so he walks in, he's like, I really need to talk to you. He's like, sure, man, shoot, what's happening? He's like, I don't know how to say this. I've been here, 6 weeks, almost every single day. And I don't understand, why we're not talking about a raise or a promotion, at this point. That blows my mind. And for you young men, I really hope that blows your mind too. He says, I've been here 6 weeks. That's a 5-day work week. It means he's been there 30 days. And he said almost every day. He hasn't even been there every day out of 30 days. And he's not sure why he's not getting a raise or a promotion. If you don't understand how low the bar is that the rest of the young men out there are setting, you show up the way you guys show up with the work ethic, being consistent. You've gotten yourself in physical shape. You've taken on these projects and challenges. You're not expecting a handout. You understand that, by building something, and you start now at 15, at 30, things can look really good. Not at 15 and a half. You have a little bit of a perspective. You will own your world.
Oh, you'll own everything around you too.
Completely.
Absolutely. And you're right. I've been telling my own sons. I told them this from the time they were y'all's age. I said, look around you. Look at your competition.
Mm-hmm.
The bar is extremely low. All it takes is like 5% more effort, maybe just a little more effort.
Yep.
And you'll blow past everybody that's around there. I was even quite vulgar about it. It says you'll own their asses.
Yep.
You really will. They'll be working for you.
Bingo. They absolutely will. Caleb, go ahead, sir.
Firstly, I'd just like to say thank you very much, Mr. Butler, for coming on today.
My privilege.
So my question is, what lessons did you learn from your childhood traumas that you've applied to fatherhood?
Great question.
That I've learned from childhood trauma. Some of the things that I learned, life is short and nothing is certain. And so not to hold back. It's a recurring thing. Coupled with the fact that I didn't start my bodybuilding till I was 53, and it was a lifelong dream. Look, lesson number 1, don't put off your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was intimidated by the big guys. I was too intimidated to go into a gym. I was scared of going out there and applying myself or doing something that was uncomfortable or putting myself in a new environment. Get over that. I live with a hell of a lot of regret because I wasted decades not pursuing the things that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Don't do what I did. And that's part of the reason I do this men's work, is out of a strong sense that if I can help any of you younger guys, grab hold of your dreams and run with them. By God, do it. Please do it. Failure is bitter. Let me tell you that failure is bitter, but regret is 10 times worse. You do not want to live with regret because you didn't do something you could have done, but, maybe I shouldn't, I'm a little scared, I might be uncomfortable, or someone might laugh at me or something. Bullshit, get over that. Go out and seize it with both hands. That's the first thing. The second thing was that my stepfather and my mother were not very affectionate people. In fact, they kind of bickered all of the time. And I learned to shower my boys with affection. I can't wait to see them. And we hug, we kiss. I tell them every time I talk to them, I'm so damn proud of them. And I'm absolutely sincere about that. The women that they found to marry and are engaged with, they're fantastic women. I praise them too. I learned to praise my boys a lot. And to encourage them all the time and to express my love for them. And I found also, that bled over into other things. I find, especially these young men that are coming into the church, I've got about 24 of them now. I have a small handful of them who like to come to confession with some regularity. And I realized a few years ago, they didn't have anything really to confess. Okay, it's their conscience. Okay, if they feel they need to confess, here I am, I'm here for them and all, but it wasn't much. And I would say the prayer for them, and then they would sort of shuffle their feet and kind of hang around a little bit like they didn't really want to leave. And it finally sunk in. These guys just want a hug. They just want a hug. They want the blessing, the affirmation, and a word of encouragement from an older man. And I said, okay, that's what they came for. I can give them that. And I know the ones that need that. And so always to be a blessing and an encouragement to other men. And let me tell you all of this too. Y'all are all in your mid-teens. That's fine. You think, oh, I can't do that because I'm young. Do not believe that. Do you know, you probably have, younger kids, okay. Caleb, forgive me. How old are you?
16, sir.
All right, you're 16. All right. Do you know how much a word of encouragement or praise means to a 13-year-old when a 16-year-old says, dude, sweet move. That riff on your guitar was stupendous. How did you beat that level of whatever video game you're playing? I don't know what it is. I don't know what 13-year-olds do these days, but if you've got something nice that you can say, totally awesome, it will make their day, it'll make their week, it can change their lives. And it's become kind of a recurring trope with me. I always say, go and be a blessing to somebody else today. Because ultimately, the fact that we are men, that God has given us masculine qualities and attributes. First, those are gifts to God, from God to us. We should be grateful and thankful that he made us men. But the reason we have these masculine characteristics, they're not for our own selfish ends. They are to be used in service to the rest of the world. So give the world your strength, give the world your leadership, give the world your confidence, give the world your competence, and go out there and be a blessing to everyone around you. And if you do that, your own life will blossom in ways you can't even conceive. I've seen it happen over and over again in my own life, and it'll happen for you too. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much for your wisdom, sir.
For sure.
So good. Gentlemen, we talked about, it might have been last week or the week before, we were talking about that baseball, that hitting coach. And I was telling you guys about that. And this gentleman had made a ton of money creating a course teaching people how to hit, right? And so somebody had given him pushback and saying, wait, why are you creating a video? Like, were you in the majors? The guy's like, no, never made it to the majors. Like, did you play college? He's like, yeah, I played at a really small college. Were you like the best hitter ever in that college? He's like, no, I wasn't even the best hitter on my team. And it was like, why are you then able to make money selling hitting videos? He's like, well, I'm not called to help the pros. I'm not called to help these other D1 college guys. There are some people who don't know how to hit as well as I do. And so my course is for them. I'm bringing them along, right? And you guys, it's the exact same thing. Yeah, okay, so maybe you're not gonna, maybe you're not gonna call one of the dads. Maybe you're not gonna call our mentors and be like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and encourage you as this 15-year-old. Maybe that's not. But what you just heard right there, who is it? Who is it that you can pour into? Who is it that you can literally change the trajectory? I quite literally, as Michael's laying this story out, I remember being 13 at a friend's house who was also 13. And there was a guy who lived next door we were freshmen. He was a senior in high school. He was a popular guy. He was one of the best basketball players on the team. And I remember he came by as he lived next door and he's like, hey, I seen you guys out of basketball practice, man. You guys look good. If you guys keep practicing, man, you guys are going to be better than we are this year. I appreciate that. I remember him saying that to us as he was 17 or 18, said that to us. And I was just like, oh my, Mike Ritchie just told us we were going to be good. Like, oh my goodness. I'm 43, man. I still remember that.
Yeah. You never, and that's one of the beautiful things. You never know when a casual word, an offhand comment, something encouraging that you say, just totally awesome, dude.
Yep.
is going to change somebody's life.
That's right.
You can't go out and plan for that. But, sometimes it's just what somebody else needs, and you're there to make a difference in their life.
Bingo. And you want to know what's even cooler? About 2 years ago, I get a Facebook message saying, man, I love what's going on. Love what you're doing in the education space. Love what's going on in the schools. My daughter, here's what's going on here. Is there anything any recommendations, anything you can recommend, anybody you can connect me to? And it was that same guy, Mike Ritchie, who's now in his he's still 4 years older than me, but he was coming to me going, hey man, is there anything you can do? And I had the opportunity to help him and his family 30 freaking years later. And I wanted to, partially because, and I don't know much about him since then, like we've stayed in touch, but I remembered that. And so I was able to help him, and it came around full circle. How freaking cool is that? Right.
That's awesome. That's sweet.
That's the way life works, man.
Yeah.
That's the way life really goes. I'm so excited. So before we tell everybody where to go to follow you and all that kind of stuff, I have one last small question for you, if you don't mind. So throughout this journey, you have looked to, you found comfort in books, you found people that you could connect to in band. Then you started saying, as you started getting to these other spaces, you found somebody who could walk you through the fitness part, online, and kind of this initial 12-week course, right? And now you've got your gym bros, and you've got, and you're going to start serving in this way that you're now a mentor to other people, but you've clearly also been mentored as well. And I always tell, we want to be impacted so that we can go forward and impact. Who for you right now serves as people that you look to? Like what kind of mentors do you have currently, wherever that is, whether it's mentors for you just around masculinity, around physicality, around spirituality, or around, any and all the above? Who do you look to?
Okay, good question. And I'll preface it with a little statement. I think I said this on the interview with Beaudreau. Every single time that I made a substantial improvement in my life, I had an older man as a teacher, a mentor, or a coach who helped me through that. I know there are people who can do it on their own, but in my case, every single time I had an older man who was there to help me. Yep. Currently, physically, I still have my competition coach. I still see him once or twice a month. That's Ramey. So, hey, Ramey, not that he's watching, but yeah, he's been my coach and my friend. He's 2 years older than me, but I still go to him for advice. Beaudreau is actually my business coach. He's taken me on sort of, I think, as a charity case, because I certainly can't afford his rates. But we get on the phone about it once a month, and he's been guiding me through developing my business plan, and also I have that. Spiritually, I don't have anybody. I'm gonna show this again. I'm gonna have to deblur my background. This man, alas, is dead. This is Father Roman Braga. He's been dead 8 years now. He was my spiritual father for 23 years. Wow. He was a Romanian monk. He spent 11 years in communist prisons in Romania in the 1950s and early 60s. Wow. Slave labor, physical torture, and abuse. Horrific. It was a miracle that he survived. But he came out and he was holy and he was wise, and he guided me for 23 years. I don't know that I can replace him. So for spiritual guidance, I don't really have anybody, and I'm kind of an orphan right now. But if you want to get ahead, guys, find somebody who's doing what you really want to do, and ask them questions, hang out with them. Look, it's why, Mr. Beaudreau has me on here now. He's trying to provide you opportunities to interact with people who are a little older, who may have something to help. Go out and find them also on your own, man. And yeah.
So good.
Soak that stuff up.
Where do we go to find you? Because again, we're going to put this out on the podcast as well. Where can people go to find out your work?
And Caleb is absolutely right. Yes, Father Roman was in Pitești in his first his first incarceration. He was in Pitești and spent 5 years in solitary confinement there on psychotropic drugs and treatments and all. It was horrific. Here I am. I put it in the chat. I go by the handle average to alpha, which is what's on my coffee mug also. AVG numeral 2 alpha, average to alpha.com. I have a website. And if you look up average to alpha on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or God help me, TikTok, I'm even there. And I do some short stuff on Instagram and TikTok. I do a little longer stuff on YouTube. I'm trying to get some more substantive information out on YouTube, but I'm just having trouble pulling it together right now and getting it posted. So yeah. And if I can be of service to you, let me know. If I can be helpful, I'm happy to be helpful to any of you. And I don't come here to be insulting or offensive. So if I've said anything that's offended you, I ask your forgiveness. It was not my intention.
No, nothing but wisdom right there, sir.